mean, when you really blow it, when you really screw up, the things that you say to yourself about yourself in your brain are some of the meanest things that anyone's probably ever said to you. And you don't think anything about it. You're like, well, I'm just saying it to myself. Well, you are, but it means that when you see yourself, you reject yourself.
Created on purpose and for purpose.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Daron Early Wine Podcast. Daron Early Wine, your host. Stoked you're back with us today as we take the next step, walking through the 4 foundations of the next module of the Rogue Collective coaching that we're developing. Once again, as you've been going through this series, say, man, this is some stuff I'd like to really get some coaching, some development in. You can get more information at it at our website, roguecollectivecoaching.com, roguecollectivecoaching.com. You can also go over to daronearlywine.com if you want. You can schedule a 30-minute discovery call with me, jump on a call, talk about where you're at, where you want to go, what that could look like, look at trying to maybe put you in a group of folks that are walking through this process, or maybe you're at a position within a company where you say, you know what, our people we need to invest in our people, and would love for you to reach out and for you to reach out in that way. Working with about 6 companies right now. And I do get questions from people that are like, well, we're not like a Christian company. Like, you can't come in here and talk about Jesus. And none of the companies that I'm working with are Christian companies. That's because a company can't be Christian, right? They can just be a company that moves dirt or sells power, or maybe they print things. Lots of different kinds of companies that I work with. They manufacture stuff. And here's the deal, is they're a company that just cares about their people. And the content we bring in here, I do my best to be as wise as a snake and as innocent as a dove, and to bring a lot of wisdom into the context where we have companies that have people from all different kinds of faith persuasions that are part of that. And what we're teaching here is part of the Rogue Collective. It's not like, hey, you have to believe exactly what we believe. There's not like a litmus test, like to be developed, you have to believe exactly what I do about Jesus, or about exactly what you do about Buddha. Or this is not a religious thing. What people at least have to be comfortable with is this: we're going to try to develop the whole human. Like, there's even a phrase in business called whole human health. That's really what if your company's interested in developing the whole human that you employ, right, then this might be something we need to talk about, because we're talking about developing the mind, body, spirit, the emotions, like the wholeness of the person. Now, what happens is when you have somebody that works for you, that you begin to invest in helping them develop as a whole human being, tell you what they do. They start to feel like they're seen, known, affirmed, and blessed, which is what we're talking about right now. And the results have been amazing. And people saying, wow, this company really cares about who I am, not just what I do. And if that's something your company would be interested in us coming in, it could be a half-day workshop, could be quarterly workshops, could be monthly coaching like we have with a handful of businesses. Reach out. Reach out to me. You can email me, Daron at daronearlywine.com. You can get information at roguecollectivecoaching.com. We'd love to get on a discovery call and talk about ways that we might be able to partner and help develop your people to truly become who they were born to be. Okay, so let's dive in. Let's talk about the first foundation, and it is this: to be seen. If we're going to love people, they need to be seen. I love this quote by Brene. She says this: we cultivate love when we allow our most vulnerable and powerful selves to be deeply seen and known. When we honor the spiritual connection that grows from that offering with trust, respect, kindness, and affection, from her book, The Gifts of Imperfection. And she hits the nail on the head there of the first 2 foundations we're going to look at, right? When we cultivate love, when we allow ourselves most vulnerably and our most powerful selves to be deeply seen and known. The first one here is to be seen. And the reason this is so important is to borrow a phrase from Henry David Thoreau, right? When he says that the mass of men and women lead lives of quiet desperation. What is called resignation is confirmed desperation. It doesn't take very long to live life to notice that the majority of people are in a form of desperation. You know what they're most desperate for? They're most desperate to be loved. They're most desperate to be loved because that's what we were created for. We're created for and by love. And when we don't experience it, it begins to lead us into a life of quiet desperation. And that's not what we want. If we're going to build a foundation that can sustain the tests of life, we have to build it on love. And that's about us stepping into the place of being able to see other people. And as I said in the last episode, there's two sides of this coin for every one of the foundations, or we might call it two lenses. And it's that we have to actually be seen and to see. And that first starts with actually seeing ourself. Once again, Jesus speaks about this in a powerful way when he says this. Here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to love your neighbor, right? Or love other people as you love yourself. And at first glance, that makes sense. Okay, well, the way I love myself, yeah, that would make sense. Like, I would not treat people differently. I want to treat myself. I treat others how you want to be loved. I mean, that we get that. So, okay, yeah, love people like I love myself. That works until you have to answer this question: how well do I love myself? Because what I've noticed in a lot of the coaching development that I've done, whether it's in the church or in the marketplace, or it's in the bar, or it's on the radio, all the different environments I've had the great opportunity to be a part of, what I notice is that the meanest person on earth to you is you. Right? I mean, when you really blow it, when you really screw up, the things that you say to yourself about yourself in your brain are some of the meanest things that anyone's probably ever said to you. And you don't think anything about it. You're like, well, I'm just saying it to myself. Well, you are, but it means that when you see yourself, you reject yourself. It means when you see yourself, you judge yourself. It means when you see yourself, you condemn yourself. So this is, I think, what Jesus was getting to here is, listen, if you're going to love others well, you have to come to the place where that you love yourself well, meaning you love yourself the way that God has loved you. So if we're going to actually love people and build this foundation, we have to take a minute and go, do I actually see myself as someone worthy of being loved? And I pause here because as I'm saying that, the weight of that question just kind of started hitting me. Like, you might need to pause the podcast and go for a walk with your dog or something and think through this one. Like, as I'm have a desire to love other people, do I actually see myself as someone worthy of being loved? And that takes an honesty, that takes a courage, that takes a vulnerability to really look at. And if the answer is no, then that's where you actually need to start on building this foundation. Because it's not until you begin to love yourself the way you've been loved by God that you're going to be prepared to build a foundation to see other people and see them as worthy of being loved. I love a lot of Brene Brown's writing in Inner Gifts of Imperfection. She talks about this massive study she did, and to realize people that had a deep sense of belonging, right, could understand and feel a peace and a love, and those who really struggled for it. And here's how she says it. I realized that only one thing separated the men and the women who felt a deep sense of love and belonging from the people who seemed to be struggling for it. That one thing is the belief in their worthiness. It's as simple and as complicated as this. If we want to fully experience love and belonging, we must believe that we are worthy of love and belonging. The greatest challenge for most of us is believing that we are worthy now, right this minute. I couldn't agree more with what Brene says. And the question is, do you, when you see yourself, do you actually believe you are worthy of being loved right now? And a big part of what we've tried to journey in on this roadway is uncovering, right, the noble quest that you have the opportunity to pursue. Looking at these 4 core questions, the amazing gifts and abilities and how you are created on purpose and for purpose. And there's so much value in you. We've unpacked the idea that first and foremost, when you see yourself, right? You should see someone created in the image of God. And we unpacked what some of those realities were. But when you look at that and you go, okay, wait a second. If I'm made in the image of God and he's given me all these abilities and all these gifts and all these talents and he's given me a purpose and he's created me on purpose and for a purpose, and he sees me and he knows me and he affirms me and he blesses me, I think that means that right now, based on who I am, because of who he's created me to be, I'm worthy of love. Now, nowhere in there did I say you're perfect, you're doing everything right, you've never done anything wrong, you never hurt anybody, you don't need to ask for forgiveness. I didn't say any of this based on your performance. It's based on who you are and who you can be in him. And if we don't start from that as a place of, I need to be able to vulnerably and affectionately know and like see myself and say, you know what? I see myself and I see someone that is worthy of love. We've got to start there if we're ever going to step into this next step of seeing others. Quick call to action, something you could do here. Maybe grab a journal if you have one and just start writing down some things, some truths about yourself that make you worthy of being loved. And we could go down a pretty deep theological hole, even further than we have, to help you unpack some of that. But this is a great place to start, to writing those things down, because there might be something about, these are things that maybe in your brain you mentally agree with, but the 12 inches, whatever, from your head to your heart, that it hasn't gone there yet. Like, yeah, I believe that mentally about myself, but you don't feel that. It's not in your heart. And sometimes when you take things out of your head and you write them down in front of you and they become something that you're observing with your eyes and kind of pulling back into your heart, it begins to sink in a little bit deeper. So that might be something that you could do in this process. Okay, so if we get there and we're starting to make some momentum there, now we're on the next place where we say, you know what, now I need to step into this idea of, do I actually embrace the power of seeing others? And when I think about the idea of power, I think about superpowers. I was having a conversation a couple weeks ago with somebody of like, hey, if you could choose any superpower, which one would you choose? And there's tons of options, right? Tons of options in this one. You know what I mean? What about Spider-Man? Right? What if you could shoot, spider webs and climb up walls and stuff? Pretty cool. I mean, some people would choose that. Maybe like the Flash. Maybe you want to be the fastest. You want to be able to run places super, super fast. I think there'd be some cool elements of that. I don't really get like Aquaman. Some people might be in with that. Not my jam. Okay. For me, if I had to be honest, I think I would go with the ability to fly. If I had to choose one superpower, I would want to fly. I mean, it would just really simplify a lot of things in life. I would choose flying, but I've heard people say I'd choose to be invisible. I'd choose to be invisible. And like, I can see some of that. I can understand how that could be maybe attractive, but honestly, when someone says like, I think I would choose to be invisible, to me, I get a little nervous around that person, right? Like, okay, why do you need to never be seen as your superpower, right? I mean, this seems a little shady to me, right? You're robbing banks. What's going on here? It makes me pause there. For anybody who would really like to be invisible. If you'd like to be invisible and you think it's a wonderful, noble thing, send me an email. I'd love to hear the rationale behind it. But here's what I also think about, is if you had the superpower to be invisible, although maybe you could get out of certain situations and there may be some positive, here's what I would also know. Your relationships would be impossible. Like if you were truly invisible, I would go with this. Invisibility, I think, would be death. Right? And in fact, I would say it is in life. Like imagine doing your next week and doing everything you do and no one sees you. You're just invisible. As you sit and feel that for a minute, I want you to then bring that emotion and realize that is what we have the potential to make people feel when we go through our life and choose to be selectively blind and not see people. I remember John Maxwell saying something one time many years ago that I thought was a little, kind of John Maxwell-y thing. But he said that to make a great influence, that leaders need to walk slowly through the crowd. And I know I haven't always done that. What about you? Like when you walk through your life, are you walking slowly enough to really see the people around you and let them know they're not invisible? Because when we see people, we actually are given the amazing opportunity to choose to love them. I don't know if I've told you guys this story before, but last year, maybe 2 years ago, my wife was busy, as all moms are, right? She was going to the gym, then she had to go do some stuff for work, and in between it, she was trying to run into Trader Joe's and get some groceries, and it's bang, 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 bang. She's got to keep moving. And she's at the grocery store. Out of the corner of her eye, she thinks she sees somebody that she knows, but she's making a split-second decision right here, right? And I know we've all done this. When you have a lot of stuff you get done, you don't have enough time to do it, and then you see someone, it's so easy to say, I'm going to pretend like I don't see them, because what seeing them is going to do is cause an interruption into my life. I don't know how long that's going to take, but what I can know is I don't have time for it to take any of my time. And so in this split second, she has to decide, do I see this person or not? She glances over and she does, but something seems off. She's works out with this woman, and usually she's bubbly. She's just kind of one of those like beams of sunshine kind of people. But as she looks over and sees this young mom that she knows, she realizes something is not right. Now she has to go to even the next level of choosing to love. Okay, I now made the decision. I do see her, and I can see that something's not right. Now, if I go over there now, whatever my agenda was is completely blown, because this is going to take a minute. And I'm so proud of my wife that she decided, you know what, this is a time this is not a time. This is another time I'm going to choose to love. And she goes over and she says, hey, are you okay? And this young mom begins to get emotional and begins to unpack for Julie that I think it was within the past 48 hours, her mother had passed away. And my mom's still alive, so I've never experienced what that pain is, but I can only imagine. And from folks that I've had to walk through that process with, I can't imagine how difficult it is, how isolating and lonely, vulnerable, scary it feels. And especially if it happens very suddenly, to be without a parent. And Julie and this woman were able to talk, and they've been able to build a friendship through the past year. And it's really beautiful to see just the opportunities to love that have come from this. But what if my wife had decided to make that woman invisible? And what happens when we're doing it? Every day of our life. And I think what we struggle with is, I think we struggle with what people have called selective blindness. It's not that we can't see. We can all see. We just selectively choose to be blind to certain kinds of people at certain times. And I think we do it. Maybe it's purposeful. Maybe it's just it just happens naturally. But I think we do it because if they're invisible, right, we excuse ourselves from having to love them, which is selfish. But we all do it, right? We've all been in the store or in the mall or whatever, and we see somebody like, I don't see them. Maybe you've been driving around a certain part of town and you're like, oh, I'm keeping my eyes on the road here. I don't want to see that person, right? At the stoplight, right? Holding up the sign. I'm not making eye contact. If I see them, they don't exist. And I think too often, we talked about this a little bit as we went through the Four Noble Quests, about the noble quest of love, is that I think too often in life, what we're blind to is what Jesus might call, and other people have called, right, the other. It's just people that are different from me and make me uncomfortable. And that can be rooted in a lot of things. Like, I think ignorance is a big thing that it's rooted in, right? Ignorance then usually kind of seeps into fear. I feel ignorant, then I'm kind of afraid here. And then I don't like that feeling. So what I do is I begin to stoke my pride, right? That I'm better than. Then I get defensive. Then I get selfish. And maybe the end of it, I just become lazy, or we might even just call it apathetic. All of these things factor in. And I think what happens is it could be something as small as somebody that's from a rival school. I don't want to see them. We can't stand them. They wear purple. We're all about blue, or whatever it is. But then it's like, what about people from different countries? Right? What about people that are of a different nationality, different race? Do we purposely try not to see them so we don't have to love them? Because to love them, to see them would have to challenge my ignorance. I'd have to get educated. Then I would actually feel less prideful and more humble. And then I wouldn't like I said, I don't know that we sit around and plot this out. I don't meet too many people that just want to be diabolically selfish, non-loving people. But I think if we look at our life, we see these things are happening, right? What are people from a different faith? Oh, well, they don't know the truth. So I'm trying to see them. Political parties. We're doing wonderful with that in America. Right? How, if you look at your social media habits, like, do you even see anybody that thinks anything different than your political party? You're to go, no, I don't even follow any of them. I just cancel them all and I close it out. And I don't want to see it. I don't even want to see it. Right? Because it might challenge what I think. It might make me, my pride, my fear, my defensiveness, my laziness, my selfishness. Oh no, I might actually have to love people that are different than me. Here's another one I think is a selective blindness for us. Is people from a different economic status, right? Well, if I see somebody that has less than me, I might actually have to do something about that and become generous. They're blind. I don't see them, right? I don't want to see people that are doing better than me because that makes me feel like I covet what they have and I feel envious. And so I don't. What are the things that are making you selectively blind in your life? And what opportunity are we missing to love? Okay? Things we got to dig through. I want you to think through that. Maybe it's time for some more journaling, okay? Of, if I had to be honest, which one of those hits for me? Is it a different country, different race, different politic, different economic status? Which one is the ones I'm saying, man, I don't want to see them. And if you had to be honest, what's fueling it? So you know what? I'm ignorant. I'm not. It's not that you're stupid. You're a smart person. I just don't have knowledge of that, so it makes me feel uncomfortable, and so I avoid it. Well, at least now you know how to fix it. Okay, which one is it? Ignorance, pride, fear, defensiveness, laziness, apathy, right, or selfishness that's causing that? One of the other things I want you to look at is I think this is a major issue in our society. I think we are struggling massively if we want to build a foundation of love in our life from what we'll call technological blindness, which means I think our current cultural obsession with technology, specifically with our smartphones and everything else going on with us, is absolutely inhibiting to our ability to see others. And you see this all of the time. I see it in the airport. I think I told you guys before, when I teach the purpose paradigm in local schools, walking around during a passing period at a local high school, and every kid has their face buried in their phone and they have headphones on. And I just realized, well, I know why you feel lonely and anxious and depressed, because you don't see anyone. Your life is in your phone. And so if you don't see anyone, no one sees you, so no one has the opportunity to love you, right? And what this is doing is it's, as we talked about with the Jenga, it's deconstructing the foundation of our life, and we're seeing people come down with a great crash. Psychology Today says this: when technology takes the place of in-person relationships, it has been found to increase loneliness and disconnection and reduce well-being. Our technological bias, right, or our technological blindness is destroying our foundation to be loved, right? Another thing for Psychology Today, and a combination of that in a website called Destination for Teens, says this: the use of smartphones, social media platforms, and other digital devices has become ingrained in our daily routines. While technology offers convenience and connectivity, excessive or misuse of technology can have adverse effects on mental health, including depression. The constant connectivity facilitated by our technology can blur the boundaries between work and personal life, leading to increased stress and anxiety. Furthermore, the prevalence of social media can contribute to the feelings of inadequacy, comparison, isolation, all of which is associated with depression. What would it look like? Here's my challenge, my call to action to you. Okay, this is a tough one. What would it look like if you, for the next week, deleted all social media off your phone? You can still check it on your laptop. You can still check it on your desktop if you have one. You got to check in. You can do so. But what if you took 7 days and did a digital fast from social media? How many hours of your life would you get back this week that you could possibly see real human beings that are really actually in your life and have the opportunity to love them or be loved by them? Think it over. See what you think, okay? I want to close with this story. The story that I think gives us a biblical framework for what this looks like. And it comes down to the name Elroy. Elroy. Okay? The word is, there are 2 words, E-L-R-O-I. Elroy. It's a name for God that comes from the Pentateuch, from the first 5 chapters or 5 books of the Bible. It comes from Genesis 16. And the story is really interesting here. There's an Egyptian servant woman named Hagar. And she's working as a servant for a woman named Sarai. And Sarah couldn't have kids. And so she got a grand idea, and she said, hey, Sarah, why don't you be with my husband, Abram, and see if you can give him offspring because I can't. And it worked. But as the baby grew, so did Sarah's resentment. And so she began to really make Hagar's life real bad. And she demanded that Abram send her away. So he did. He sent her and her child into the desert, basically to die. As you dig through the story in Genesis 16, it's interesting because God sends an angel to give Hagar some much-needed encouragement, support, and he saves her life, speaks a blessing, an affirmation over her life and her line. And then she says something really interesting. She says this, you are the God who sees me. And then she says, have I truly seen the one who sees me? You are the God who sees me. And the Hebrew word there's right is Elroy, the God who sees me. Have I truly seen the one who sees me? And this powerful moment I want to sink in for you is that God has been known by that name and many others, but ever since. He is the God who sees you. He is the God who loves you. He sees you in your best and your worst. He sees what you can become. He can see what you're being healed from. He sees you. And it's the first foundation of his ability to love you, and then him inviting you to be like him in your relationships. That you are the one who sees people. Okay? Quick, another call to action. Okay? How about this? This week, maybe you do the digital fast. If not, I want to encourage you, just increase your commitment this week, right, to eye contact. Like when you're talking to people, look them in the eye, and maybe even try this, active listening. Okay? When someone says something, repeat back what you heard them say and say, am I hearing you correct? And stay present with them. Get your phone out of your hand and see them. Watch their body language. See what cues you can get, right? Try this with your spouse. Try this with your kids. Try this with people you work with. Try this with your buddies you play pickleball with, whatever it is. Try to stay connected and see them this week and see what happens, right? And maybe notice their reactions in that, okay? Appreciate you tuning in to this episode of the Daron White Podcast. We'll be back next week as we take a look at the next foundation, which is to be known. And to be able to talk again, remember, God's for you, not against you. He's near you, not far. And he's created you on purpose and for a purpose. Thanks for watching or listening to this episode of the Daron White Podcast.